And now I call upon the man who we are waiting to listen to, the person who has made all this happen in a record time after the previous one. Otherwise, यहाँ का FSI 8 होता, अभी यहाँ का FSI 2 है. So let's give a big round of applause and please keep clapping for our Honorable Municipal Commissioner, Shri Ajay Mehta.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for the applause. Respected members of the PEATA, Mr. Dubal, Mr. Sukhatne, all present here on the stage, my friends engineers, architects, officers from the Mumbai Corporation. I can also see some corporators and public representatives also here. Most welcome. To start with, I must put on record that this is one of the most beautiful halls that I have ever seen. It's actually imposing. Anywhere in the world I haven't seen anything like this. An imposing hall and very beautifully done. And I suppose the architects have a keen eye for beauty and they have selected this. I must also thank Mr. Dubal for having given me my fees before I speak. So the memento and the flowers were given to me before I spoke. I can actually walk out of it. Mr. Dubal, that's the wish of every architect or a professional. Fees aage de hum kaam karte. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen. Let me start with what is the big picture. I won't get into sections and clauses, but let's look at what is the big picture. What does a DP consist of? There are 4 things in a DP. The first is what is called the report of the development plan, the DP report. What does a DP report do? The DP report gives you the philosophy of the town planner. No policy can be made unless you have a philosophy. If you don't have a philosophy, you cannot have a policy. So people, especially engineers and doctors and scientists, what do they say? Arey, ye to philosophy padta hai, jaane do. The beginning of any thinking is from philosophy. So the DP report gives you what is the philosophy of the town planner. How is he thinking when he is planning this town? The second thing that the DP has is what is called the DP sheets. Those big sheets, color sheets that you see. Those are what is called the land use pattern. What is the existing land use and how have I planned my land use? A DP is fundamentally moving from an existing land use to a planned land use. So that is the distance it has to cover. That is there in the sheets. So you have the philosophy, you have what you have and what you want to achieve. The last is how do you achieve it? What is the instrument to achieve it? And the instrument to achieve a DP is what is called a DCR, the Development Control Regulation. That is the tool to achieve your DP. The DP has to be finally delivered. It gets delivered through the tool of a DCR. So these are the 3 things that we looked at when we started the work. The philosophy should be clear, the DP sheet should be in place, and once I have the DP sheets, how do I achieve it? The DCR should be able to achieve what I have thought of. That is how we started. Now let us look at what are the 4 pillars on which this DP stood. Before we started, we had a debate. What is it that we want to do for Mumbai? So finally, that is what we need to deliver. The first and the foremost thing that came to our mind was Mumbai is a commercial city. Let us not shy away from that. Mumbai is a paramount commercial city, not only in India. We are in competition with Southeast Asia and the world. We are not just a Mumbai city. We are now moving towards world class. And we are a commercial city. Let us not feel shy. This has been the commercial capital of the country, shall remain the commercial capital, and shall also achieve and try to become the commercial capital in the world. So if you have to be a commercial city, what do you need to do? The first thing that you need to do is create jobs, quality jobs. In DP, there is no sense in a town plan, there is no sense in planning if that plan does not deliver jobs. So लोकांना नोकऱ्या नाही आणि तुमच्याकडे फार सुंदर DP आहे, त्या DPचा काही अर्थ नाही. या शहरात फक्त बेरोजगार लोक राहतात पण शहर सुंदर आहे. Doesn't make sense. You need to create jobs. That is the first thing. So if we needed to create jobs, we first said, let us see how many jobs do we need to create till 2034. Till 2034, we need to create 8 million jobs in Mumbai. That is the job potential that Mumbai has to create. Now, if I have to create 8 million jobs, Mumbai is not going to be digging pits, filling them up, doing labor work. No, Mumbai is going to be a service-oriented city. Service industry is going to be here. Finance, animation, press, media, all these things, IT, biotechnology, this is going to be here. So what do you need? The National Building Code says that for every job, you need 10 square meters for service industries and nearly 2 square meters as ancillary for a job. So if you have an office space, you also need canteen, you need some common area. So about 12 square meters is what you need for each job. 8 million jobs, we said that takes us to 10,000 hectares of built up area. So if I need 10,000 hectares of built up area for commercial, what do? Then we work backwards. What is the land available in Mumbai? Today, each citizen of Mumbai, to his share, has 37.5 square meters of land. 37 square meter land, प्रत्येक नागरिकाच्या नावावर आज या शहरात आहे. From that, let me subtract natural area, CRZ1, reservations, designations. If I subtract all this, that is about 27 square meters. I am left with only 10 square meter per citizen. That means what? Only 28% of Mumbai is buildable for commercial and residential. The challenge is immense. It is like making an elephant stand on a pin. You are now going to make an elephant stand on a pin. Now, what is the instrument to achieve this? One side, you need 10,000 hectares of office space because you need to create 8 million jobs. You can't have a city which is unemployed. At the same time, the available land to build is only 28% of the total city area. The instrument for this is FSI. We calculated backwards, the FSI came to 5. Commercial FSI. Simple as that. But look, I want that builder check घाश्यात FSI मारला नाही बाबा. ते calculation करून घाश्यात काहीच नाही डोक्यातून जर मिळाला त्याचं. Mathematical calculation. These are the number of commercial area I have to provide. This is my land. What do? I have to provide an FSI of 5, otherwise I cannot achieve a city which generates jobs. Today, commercial space in Mumbai is more expensive than London. We are pricing ourselves out. Please remember, commercial is not evil. Commercial generates jobs. And I say boldly, commercial is not evil. Commercial generates jobs. This is where our youngsters will go. This is where the jobs are. We need to encourage it. So then we said, okay, FSI of 5 over there. So that's how we came to this FSI of 5 in commercial. Let's move on to the next. Once you've provided people jobs, what is the next thing? I need houses. There's no sense, I have a job but I have no house. At the same time, we have acquired the land without paying anything. So this was the second thing that we dealt with as a part of our DP exercise, the housing. Now, if you look at NDZ lands, today the NDZ land is 13,000 hectares in Mumbai. Out of which 10,000 hectares we first moved it out by creating a new zone called the NA, natural area. These 10,000 hectares are fundamentally mangroves, CRZ lands, eco-sensitive lands, hill slopes. So we first removed it, created a new zone called NA. That means you will never develop it. That is natural area. This will never be touched. So we were left with 3,000 hectares. In 3,000 hectares, again we found 600 hectares is already having Gauthan and encroachment, 6,000 odd. So we left with 23 hectares, 2,300 hectares. So we said, all right, let us assume that 2,100 hectares will come into development. So to say NDZ has taken away natural areas, no, these were originally private lands meant for development. Whatever was meant for natural areas was removed first. So 10,000 hectares out of 13,000 hectares, which is the natural area, has not only been removed from development, but has been sealed for all times to come. In future also you cannot touch it. Similarly, we did with salt pan. Salt pan, we have about 2,000 hectares in Mumbai, out of which about 1,700 hectares is in CRZ 1, 2, 3. We removed all that. We said don't touch CRZ lands. Remove all that. Eco-sensitive we removed. You are left with hardly about 400 hectares. So we are now going to tell Government of India that you must also contribute to the development of the city. Give us about 100 hectares for affordable housing. Now, if we had not done this, the government or the owner of the NDZ is free to divert the land wherever he feels like. Today, if you want to develop NDZ or you want to develop salt pan, you have to develop it with a public purpose in mind. You cannot develop it for personal profit. So that is the strategic move that we made to create affordable housing in the city. Third thing, once you have got your house, you have your job. Next, what do you look for? The next thing that you look for is quality of life. I must have open spaces. I must have hospitals. My children should go to good schools. There should be colleges. There should be art, culture, theatre. So then you start looking for quality of life. A Mumbai city like Mumbai must have quality of life. The first thing that comes into mind for quality of life is open spaces. How much open spaces do we have? Now we found that the norms in Mumbai had been diluted and suburbs had 4 square meters, whereas city had 2 square meters per person as the open space norm. We decided to push this up to 4 square meters. Then the open space norms must go up to 4 square meters. So when people say open spaces have been eaten, no. This DP has pushed the open space norms upwards to 4 square meters per person. And after doing this, totally today we find that we are achieving a figure of 4.97 square meters per person. Clearly as open space in Mumbai. Besides this, we decided that all the nalas that you have, one of the biggest problems with nalas that you have today, and they have sort of become the lifeline of Mumbai if you ask me, is people not respecting this nala. A nala is actually being treated like a nala. Including we find kapards, we find beds. That day I went to an inspection and I found an old jeep also thrown into the nala. Throw anything that you feel like into the nala, that is because we are treating them like that. So we said in the DP, let us create a green buffer along the nala, which becomes a walking area or becomes a play area where people start respecting these things, because this is something that comes in use when there is an emergency. Otherwise you don't think about it. Only when it rains, then people say, oh, nale tum le. But adi kai kela, we never respected it. So tum le. But this green space that we have created along the nala is not adding to the total 4.97 square meters that we have created. That is separate. This is a separate open space that has been created only to ensure that nalas stand protected in Mumbai. That was the third thing that we did. Similarly, this is the first time that you find in a DP a huge emphasis has been given to art, culture, theatre. All these things are seeing a place in the DP because we now strongly feel that Mumbai's time has come to improve its quality of life and quality of life of the citizens. And we've tried to distribute it all over. The fourth pillar on which this DP stood. So you've got your job, you've got your houses, you've got your quality of life. But don't forget that there is still one category of people who don't walk with the majority. There is a problem. Let us look at one first simple category that comes to our mind. The women in society. Today, I was surprised when we were doing the DP that in Mumbai, only 17% of the women work. In this hall, I don't even find that. Only 17% of the women work. How can you call yourself a modern city or a modern society where you cannot bring the whole competent population into the workforce? Unless the competent population which is talented, educated, ready to work, cannot be brought into the workforce, where are we headed? We are not headed anywhere. The first target that we kept ourselves in front of ourselves was that let us push this figure of 17% working women in Mumbai to at least 25% women must be able to work. Now, if women have to work, what is the first thing that they need? Safe housing. If there's a lady who comes into work, or if she starts working, the first thing she says is, do I have a safe house? After I finish work, can I go home to a safe place? No. Today we have absolutely very, very few women working in women's hostels. We have very few working women rental housing, where a woman who starts her work can come, stay there for a year or two, till she finds regular houses, she moves away and that house is given to somebody else. This is the first time we have created women rental housing and housing for women as a special category in the team. Going further, it's not just that a lady, when she comes to work, she needs a house. The next thing she needs is, who's going to look after my child when I go to work? So if you want the whole population to work, the children must also be looked after. You can't have a city which is child insensitive. No, you go to work, children, you don't. There's no modern city in the world which does not have daycare centers in almost every colony, almost in every housing society. This is the first time we have created reservations for daycare centers in every ward. It has to. You can't have your population contributing fully unless these things are taken. These are practical difficulties we need to look at, and the development plan must deliver this. The next thing on social equity that we saw this time was, what are we doing for the differently abled people? They are also part of society and they are able to contribute and contribute effectively. This time, when we were doing the DP, we had special meetings with groups, NGOs and social organizations representing the differently able, whether it was the blind or people who have walking disabilities or whichever way. What do you need to become contributors of society? And this is the first time you will find that the DCR has compulsory clauses that have to be there so that these people also become effective members of society. So this was the fourth thing that we took care of. So it was jobs, housing, social, quality of life and social equity. These are the four things that we kept in mind when we did this. In fact, one more thing that we kept in social equity was aging population. The population is aging. And now it is not called old age home anymore. It is called assisted living. Because old people also want to live with dignity. So they want to be assisted while living. They don't want a home which you give them something free. No. Assisted, please help me. I want to live a dignified life. So assisted living also this time we are provided in the DCR and in the DP so that that becomes a part of the whole. I will now move on to certain features in the development plan that you would see. When we made the DP, then we asked ourselves, how are we going to implement this? And we looked at the history of DP implementation in Mumbai. 1967 DP, we have just implemented 18% of the DP. That's all. 18% त्याची अंमल झालेली आहे, बाकी 82% अंमल झालेलं आहे, ते कागदावरच आहे. 91 DP, the next DP came in 91. 91 DP मध्ये फक्त 23% DP चे अंमल झालेला आहे, बाकी कागदावर आहे. Now, do you want a DP which is discussed in colleges, architectural schools, and people like Ajay Mehta come and give bhashan and go away? No. We want a DP that has to be implemented. So we calculated what is the cost of implementing this DP. Do you know what was the cost? 15 lakh crores. Will Mumbai Corporation from today to 2034 generate that kind of money? No, it can't. How do you implement this DP? So are you making something which is just an academic exercise? हाँ reservation है, अपन घर दियो, ये करो, ते करो, but पैसे सर्वो सोम करता है, पैसे से सोम करता है, इतना है. Where do you get the money from? So this time we came out with a very specific requirement of accommodation reservation. But there was also a second thing. Reservation टाकला की रूमच्या बाहेर आणायला लागतो. तो reservation काढा, कसला टाकला, मी मेलो, अरे. And this time around when we made it public accommodation reservation देना है, you won't believe it, I did not get even one phone कि माझ्या plot पर reservation नका टाको. In fact, there were people who came and said टाका reservation. Reservation टाकला की म्हणजे काले कपडे घालून तुमच्या दारासमोर उभं. So we said, let us make it so attractive for him that when his reservation comes, he should willingly give it. And the instrument over there is TDR or allowing him development in the rest of the land. So if you have a reservation of an RGPG, we said, well, keep 30%, give us 70%. We will give you FSI for the full plot. We will also give you FSI if you are going to develop this. And please see that you have a house in front of a garden without having given anything in return. Similarly, for schools, we did schools, hospitals 40-60. For schools, we did 50-50. Other things, we did 40-60. Which our feeling is now that people would come forward to give lands in the reservation rather than we giving out cash. So that is something that we have done to ensure that cash outgo is much lesser. Other thing we saw, there are certain very typical problems that Mumbai has. You go to LBS road, you go to SP road. There are structures right in the middle of the road, and they are legal structures. What do you do with them? You need to remove this bottleneck. What do you do with them? And these are typical problems in Mumbai. I haven't seen this where you have a complete residential building right in the middle of the road. And he's also correct. He says, तुम्हाला एसपी रोड मधून उचलून तुम्ही मला माहुलला पाठवता मी नाही जाणार. मला इथेच कुठे जवळपास देत असाल तर मी थांबतो, नाही तर मी जात नाही. And there you are in litigation stuck. So we now created a clause wherein if an adjoining plot along the road is ready to accommodate him, we are going to give him extra FSI and see that he gets accommodated. So for bottleneck, we have come out with a separate policy. Then a third concept we introduced. If you see today, reservation is frozen, locked and tight. So if I reserve this for parking, इथे parking showroom काहीच होणार नाही. If this is for road, it will be a road and nothing else. But you come to many of these commercial areas on a Saturday, Sunday, parking lot empty, road empty. But I can do nothing on that road because the reservation says road. Road means road, nothing else. So we said, let's introduce a new strategy into reservation, call it time-dependent reservation. Reservation can change with the time of the day or time of the year. So on a Sunday, in a commercial area, in the parking lot, we can suspend the reservation of parking and create a farmer's market. In a commercial area, on a Sunday, you could remove the reservation and make it a playground. So the children can just come and play on that road because nobody is using that road, that commercial area is closed. Or you could say, set up a nice food park on a Sunday where people come, enjoy, have their food and go back home. So this time we have introduced the concept of time-dependent reservation. Reservation is not blocked 24/7, 365. No, the world has moved away from locking and blocking. It needs to be open. We've gone ahead and said that you cannot have a reservation which is fixed. Primary school. No, it just can't be primary school. A land must multitask in a place like Mumbai. So if you have a primary school on the ground floor or 2 floors, why can't you have a secondary school on top and then maybe a college above that and then a skilling center on top of that? Why can't a land multitask? Why should a land be blocked only for one purpose, primary school, nothing else? No, it can't happen in Mumbai. It has to be opened up to realize the full potential of land. So if there's a similar use or a convergent use, let us try and see if that same land can use it. Solid waste management is a big issue. It's a linear city. Your trucks go from one end of the city to the other end. Our dumping grounds are full. It is now time that garbage is processed where it is generated. So this time around, we have almost created solid waste management centers in every ward. So that in every ward, the garbage gets processed. And now processing of garbage doesn't create smell. Most of the places in the world that I have been, till you enter that plant, you will not even know that this is a garbage treatment plant. It's so clean. Garbage has to be treated where it is generated, should not go, so we created this SWM. Next important thing that we looked at was parking. Parking in Mumbai today is the most indisciplined thing that is happening. Nobody knows how many parking spaces are there, where you are supposed to park, how you are supposed to park. This time around in the DP, we have created a parking authority under the Mumbai Corporation. This authority will control all parking spaces. We'll have an inventory of all parking spaces, how efficiently to use parking, including today on the Google Maps, if you are going from Dadar to Worli, you can know how much traffic is there and how much time it will take you. But after reaching Worli, will you get a parking space? You don't know. Once you create a parking authority and you build all parking spaces under one inventory, so when you start up from here that you're going to Worli, it can tell you where exactly in Worli are the parking spaces available, so you know where you are going. Then there are things like, we are now moving more and more towards putting faith in the professionals who are submitting plans. More and more we are saying, I don't know this, so campus have lights. But we are saying, let's move to an era of self-certification. We cannot treat everybody as, hey, ये तो अपने को pocket मारने वाला है. नहीं, ऐसा नहीं. Let's have faith in the people who we deal with. Let's get into self-certification. Let professionals certify. If that is to happen, the law must recognize it. This time around in the DCR, first time, we have defined the professional. He has been defined. And this professional can self-certify the plans. High-rise we have done from 24 to 32, podium here. The other thing that has been again a game changer that we think this time will be, Presently, your TDR is allowed only north of the plot. We said let's bring more fluidity into the market, let TDR be allowed through the city, indexed on the SDR rate. So that you can carry TDR anywhere you feel like, depending on the SDR rate. That will help us basically to develop the city more. Today, nothing is happening in the city. Every TDR is moving north. Very late, there's nothing that is moving into the city, and city needs to develop. The city's development is slowing down, and the suburbs are getting more and more crowded. The other big category we found was there are about 30,000 societies in suburbs which have now become dilapidated, need to be rebuilt, but the owners can't afford the rebuilding. And that's huge, almost 30,000 and more societies are there which are stuck because of this. So we said if they have to go for redevelopment, let us give them extra FSI to cover their construction costs so that these people who are there in societies, bought their land or got into societies earlier, they should be able to redevelop and come forward. So this will bring a big push to redevelopment in the suburbs. Suburbs almost redevelopment is not happening. So we did this to bring out a big push in redevelopment in the suburbs. Let me come to some of the criticisms that we have faced. One of the criticisms that we face is that you have not designated so many things. म्हणजे तुम्ही डेझिग्नेशन याला दिला नाही तर हा मध्ये गायब होणार का? फॉर एक्झाम्पल कनेरी केव्स, तुम्ही त्याच्यावर डेझिग्नेशन टाकलं नाही कनेरी केव्ह, म्हणजे आता कनेरी केव्ह गायब झाले. नो, द सिटी इज डिवाइडेड इनटू 5 पार्ट्स व्हेरी क्लिअरली: रेसिडेन्शियल, कमर्शियल, इंडस्ट्रियल, एनडीझेड and natural areas. Every structure will be in one of these 5 zones. If that structure is in keeping with those 5 zones, that does not mean that structure will be demolished and you will do what that zone does. So if Canary Caves is a natural area, doesn't mean we will demolish the Canary Cave and plant trees over there. No, it doesn't happen. So this is one thing that we are trying to explain, that by designation does not mean. Similarly, we have not designated private schools and private hospitals, for the simple reason that we strongly believe that this is your private land on which you have put up a private school. Tomorrow you might like to shift from a school to a hospital. Why should we stop? Going further, if we designate it, that means the corporation has to acquire it. We will be forced into a purchase notice to acquire it. So we said, look, the private citizen has come forward through a PPP model. He is running a social amenity. Let him run it the way he likes to run it. Let's not restrict it. That's why those things were not put. Second was the heritage list, which Mr. Sukatne covered very well. In the heritage list, previously heritage used to be marked on the DP plan. This time around, we have said heritage list should be attached as a list behind the plan. Does not mean the heritage has disappeared, but heritage is always notified by the government. As and when the government notifies, you don't have to change the sheet, you just change the list. We've tried to bring simplification. Similarly, vending, the vending zone, hawkers. Vending zones are subject to change by the government as per the notification. So as the vending zones change, just by adding that list, you can finish it out rather than going through a DP process. So we try to simplify. DP process is a very involved and time-consuming process. But there are certain things we change on a year-to-year basis. And those things should be able to do much more easily. Going on with reducing powers, concessions. Commissioner's concessions have been removed from 35 to only 14. So I am a poor man from now. There were 35 concessions which the commissioner used to get. Now we will give only 14. The rest have been put on the automatic route. Please don't come to us. Take the concession if you think you deserve it. Finally, to close, there were 4 things that we tried to achieve in this DP. First and foremost, we said, let us simplify. DP cannot be a complicated exercise. In fact, today I was reading, our Honorable Prime Minister took a meeting of income tax officers, and there the one thought that came out was, cannot the income tax laws be made in the local language which is understood? Today I even don't understand the income tax laws. Let us try and simplify things. Let us make it easier and simpler to do it. Second, bring in transparency. In fact, this time around, as the DP was being made, we put the chapters in the public domain. As and when it was being made, it was put into public domain. Let people see, let people comment, let people talk and tell us this is to be changed or this is not to be changed. Rather than keeping it under secrecy, and then as soon as it is, one date is over and there is an explosion, everybody says, Ekayana. So that is something that we have avoided, brought transparency. Thirdly, we very strongly believe that this time around there has to be ground truthing. there cannot be a DP that has been made in office. A DP has to be made on the ground. You must check the ground truth. Looking at just some maps, satellite maps, and then say, I have achieved what I wanted to achieve. No, you can't. You can't achieve unless you go to the ground. And fourthly, the most important thing, and that is something that makes me extremely proud, that this is a DP that has been made by officials of the corporation. In fact, when we started the work on the DP and I called my engineers, I don't know why, first reaction was, they said, consultant. I said, no, this time around, guys, consultant. It has to be done by our officers, our engineers. We will do it. We will not get a consultant from outside. And I'm extremely happy and proud to say that our engineers did it. In fact, this is a big shift that we want to bring in. You ask anybody, do you like Mumbai? Oh, Mumbai is sundar. Oh, Mumbai is very nice. I like Mumbai. I'm not going anywhere. Do you like Mumbai Corporation? Aji baat nahi. You like Mumbai but you don't like the corporation. Why this gap? Mumbai Corporation has some of the competent people, most competent people, and that is why this time around we also wanted to show that Mumbai Corporation with staff and engineers can deliver. Lastly, let me also put on record the wide consultations we had. PEATA, your office bearers, members of the PEATA account, number of emails I used to get, SMSs, WhatsApp messages, people sending letters, do this, don't do that, please correct this, don't correct that. That inclusiveness was huge. It was almost like a people's movement, and that is very heartening that everybody is involved in this work. And I must also put on record the great work done by Mr. Jha. He was my boss when I started my career. So today I have the opportunity of writing his CR. Excellent help I got from him, and I must say it came because of him, and that is something that must be acknowledged over here. Thank you everybody. Thank you so much for listening to me.